files, text files, we use the open method, the open function, sorry. But in computers, there are lots of different types of files. Some are plain text files, like the things that you can edit with a program similar to Notepad of Windows, or the programs that you write, the Python programs or Java programs, etc., that you write are also plain text files. They can be edited with a text editor similar to Notepad. Or you can also create some document files, the Word documents, for example, or Excel documents, PowerPoint documents, or PDF files, etc. are document files that requires a special program to create and edit. You can also have in your computer some executable program files. The programs that you execute are stored as executable program files. Like the extensions that they have under Windows is .exe, or you can have .dll files, etc. You can have picture files, audio files, video files, etc. There are lots of different file types. Today, we will only see how we can create or read from plain text files, okay? All other text files is outside our scope, so we will only see how we can create a plain text file that can be edited with an editor similar to Notepad. First of all, we need to open the file, okay? In the open function, there are two parameters. The first parameter is the file name, and the second parameter is the mode that we want to use while using that file. If the file is in the same directory as our program, we just need to put the file name. Otherwise, we have to put the full path and the file name, okay? If it is in another directory, then we need to put here C:\\, blah, 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 blah. Okay? All the directory structure and the file name must be put. But if the file name is in the same directory with our program, then we only need to put the file name. What are the modes? There are three modes. If you want to read an existing file, then we will use the read mode, which is just a R character. Okay, the file modes are single character strings. R is for the read mode, W is for the write mode. If there is an existing file and we want to read from that file, the file must exist in our computer on our hard disk, and the file mode that we will be using will be R. The W mode is the write mode. If the file doesn't exist, it will create a new file with that name and a file with that name. If the file already exists, then we use the W mode, the write mode. The previous content will be deleted and we will write on top of it, okay? Nothing will remain from the previous file. The file will be just newly created. So the previous content will be destroyed and the file will be recreated. If you want to add to the end of an existing file, we can use the append mode, A mode. In append mode, all the writings to the file will go to the end of the file. The file will be extended, okay? We will start with read mode in our examples, of course. And by the way, when we finish reading from a file or writing to a file or appending to a file is finished, we need to close the file. Here, the open function, when we open a function, the open function gives us a file object. And by using this file object, we can read from files or write to files. Let's first of all let's see if I have some files in my program directory, CS104 py, here it is. assume we have, for example, so I have and here, let's say I have, for example, several files here. Let's open one of them, 00AA. Okay, here it is. Let's put here some values, some other text. Peace on Earth, peace in the galaxy. And let's put here some other things. Let's copy from anywhere. Let's go from here. Let's take from here, copy this text, and I will putting it in here. Now I have a text file which is named 00aa.txt, which contains these lines. Okay, this text. I'm using, by the way, editor, text editor, which is called Notepad++, which is not from Microsoft. It is from independent people, which is quite handy when you open a program file, a Python program file or Java program file. You cannot compile, etc., but you can edit any type of text file. So I'm using this Notepad++. Here I have my file. Okay. Now what I will be doing, I'll be writing a program which will read this file. There are 6 lines, and the 7th line is empty. We didn't put anything yet. Here we have 6 lines. Some of the lines are quite long. The line 2, for example, is quite long. Here it is. I see the whole line, but it is all a single line. Okay, so I will be writing a program which will read this 00aa.txt. Therefore, I have to open it in read mode. I will be using this one, and then I will read from the file and display the contents. And then I will continue by explaining these methods. So let's go to our program. First of all, I have to use a file object. Let's call it file. Okay, for simplicity, it can be anything here. Sometimes I use FP as file pointer or anything, but I will be using file. Open. The file name is 00aa.txt. And I want to read from the file. So my mode is read. And when I finish with my file, I will close the file. Okay. Now, how can I read from this file? There are several ways of reading. There are at least 4 methods to read from a file. If I just use fread alone, therefore, if I say, for example, contents equal file dot read, here the variable f is the file object, which is this file. Okay. If I use file, then I have to use file here. I just put F to make it shorter, so that it will fit in this in this column. So if I use the read method with my file object, then it will read all contents of the file in one method call, and it will store in a. It will give me as a string. So the whole content will be given to me as a string if I use the read method. So the whole file, the contents of whole file, everything here in my file, all this content will be put in one string. Here after the first line, there is a new line. After the second line, there is a new line. After the third line, at the end of every line, there is a new line character, okay? Including those new line characters, and here I have another new line. I have everything in one string. So this string, this variable will contain as one string the whole content of the file. If I just print contents, I'm using contents because it is meaningful. If I can say print A, it doesn't matter. If I do this, I see here the whole content of the file. What is this? Let me check it here. Oh, there is this one. Let's change this characters with normal quotation mark. Save it and let's run this program again. Okay, now it's better. Some special characters are not recognized by the Python program, so it puts some codes for it, ASCII codes for that characters. Now we have our lines. There are 6 lines, so I see here those 6 lines. This is one of the ways of reading from a file, the first way of reading from a file. And what is fread with a number? If I just use, for example, fread with a number, let's say if I put here 100, for example, what will happen? It will read 100 characters, okay? So let's say A is this one, and then B is equal to file.read. What will happen? And let's see A, and after the A, let's print something like equal multiply by 40 and print B. I want to separate those two, okay? I want to see where A is finished and where B starts. Okay? I want to see all of this. So if I do this, what I see that. What happens? It will read 100 characters from the file. So it will go up to the end of the from and space. There is one space here, okay? It will read that part. So from the file, it seems that the first 100 characters is up to here, okay? This is the first 100 characters. It will read 100 characters, and the cursor in the file will stop here. And next, I have a file read. It will read from here till the end, okay? So file.read reads from the current position in the file till the end. If I only have this, then it will read the whole file. But if I have already in my program read some part of the file, then file read will read the rest of the file in one string. So here, if I do this, it will read the first 100 characters, and then I have this. I can have, for example, another one, another 40 characters, and C is equal to file.read. What will happen? The first 100 characters will be read and stored into A, and then the next 40 characters are read and stored into B, and C has the remaining part. Okay, so let's copy these two, and let's print C. If I do that, here I see that this is the first 100 characters, then the next 40 characters, and then the rest. Okay? So the read method just reads the remaining contents of the file in one string. What is read lines? It reads all lines of the file from the current position to the end of the file and returns the lines as a list. Every element of the list will be one line from the file. So let's do that. Here, I think this is understood. So instead of this, usually what I do, I use the lines name read lines, which doesn't require any parameter. If I do it like this and print lines, and what I will be seeing, here I have my list. The first line, peace on earth, peace in the galaxy, blah, blah. Here is our file. Okay. The first line. And then the second element of the list will be the second line. The third element of the list will be a third line, etc. File.read lines gives me a list, and each element of the list is one line, including the new line at the end. Okay, here you see the new line. If you go and look here, we see the new line at the end of the second line. And somewhere here, we will have a new line at the end of some other line. Here I have new line at the end of another line, etc. So, and there is a new line at the end of the last line. Here I have 6 lines, and at the end of every line, I have a new line character. Here I have a new line at the end of the last line as well. So I get a list of a list which contains as elements every line in the file. Okay, here there's a long line. This will be one element in my list. So read lines gives us a list, and here I have my lines. What I can do, I can say, for example, print there are comma len of lines is my variable here that I used, lines in the file, for example. I want to print the number of lines in the file. So what I did, there are blah blah len lines, number of elements in the lines list, because read lines gives me a list, lines in the file. If I run this, I will see that it will print 6. There are 6 lines in the file. What I can do with the files, I can just write a for loop for a line in lines. I can get every single line one by one, and I can do some processing, whatever I need. For example, I want to print those lines again. Okay, line. But before that, I can just put the yeah, I can do something like this, for example. Okay. Here I have my stuff. Why there is some extra space between them? Because line contains a new line at the end of the element of the line. So therefore, it will print this line together with new line at the end. So it will go to the next line. Since print itself prints also a new line at the end after printing inside, it will go to the third line. Okay. So the second line, the first line, including the new line at the end of this line, is part of the line, and prints an extra new line at the end. So it will have two new lines. One new line coming from the line, one new line printed by the print function. Okay? So that's why we have those things. Do you remember the function to get rid of the white space at the end of the string? Probably you remember that. Let's go and look to those. Let's go to the strings. Here it is. Use strip. Returns a copy of the string with leading and trailing white spaces removed. Or rstrip returns a copy of the string with trailing white spaces removed. So if I really want to do some processing with the line, probably I will be using rstrip to get rid of the new line at the end of the string. Okay. So what I can do here, I can say rstrip. Sorry, I don't want to. Oh yeah, so this line. It's not a function; it is a method. Rstrip. Okay. If I do this, I will have on my output just the lines: first line, second line, third line, etc. Because I have removed the new line or the white spaces at the end of every line by using line rstrip before printing. Let's go to files again. Yeah, here it is. So read lines, read all lines of the file and returns a list which contains the lines. What is read line? Read line reads one line only. Okay, so I need to have a loop. Let me check it here. Usually I don't use this read line. It is read lines is more easy to use. In one statement, you just have all the file, lines read from the file. Read line just reads one line at a time and returns a string. How do I check if it is not the end of the file? Let me check. Blah blah blah. I will just be checking here. I haven't used any example with the read line. Anyway, it reads one line. Okay, it is a single line. So in order to read the whole contents of the file, I have to use a while loop to check if there's any line which is not read yet from the file. I haven't put it here, so I will not be using this in any example. I will check it. I will give a break, 5-minute break after the first hour, and then I will check how can I check the end of file. Let me check it quickly here. Python EOF is end of file. It says Python doesn't have any built-in end of file detection function. So anyway, I will skip this. I'm just checking quickly. No, okay, let's skip it. So read line just reads one line. You need to use a loop to read the whole content. I will not do any example with read line. I will not ask read line. You will be responsible from these methods, but not from that method. One way is that it can be that you can read line, and then if it gives us an empty string. If there is nothing, it will mean that you reached the end of the file. Let's do it here quickly. After opening this file, instead of using read lines, which reads everything in one statement, we have to do something like this. You will read one line. Let's say line equal file read line. Read the first line. Okay. While line is not an empty line, it will mean that our reading is successful. Then print the line and then read next line. So line equal read line will be repeated. Okay, let's copy this here. So what I'm doing here, I'm reading on line 4, the first line. Let's say on line 3, the first line. Read first line. If the line is not empty, it means that we have successfully read something from the file. Print the file, and here we will be reading the next line. So let's run this. Here we have those. When I read with read line, it will be reading a whole line, including the new line at the end. So I have my line together with the new line. When I use print line, it will print also as new line as well. So at each print line on line 5 will print 2 lines. The first line contains the content of the line from the file, including the new line at the end. And then the second new line is printed by the print function. Again, what I can do, I can say line.r strip. If I want to remove the new line at the end and just print the line without the new line at the end of the line, I can use this. So I will have that output. So this is how I can do it. If I use read line, I have to check if the line is empty string or not. If it's an empty string, it means that we have reached the file, we have finished the file, we have reached the end of the file, and we didn't read anything. The read here after at that time is unsuccessful because the end of file is reached. So next, yeah, this is about reading. Read the whole content, or read a given number of characters from the file. Read all lines into a list of lines, and read only a single line from the file. There are the 4 ways of reading from file. What we can do with those, for example, assume that I want to find how many uppercase letters exist in the file. Okay, what I can do for this. So there are several ways of doing it. Either I can use read lines. I can read all the contents of the file into a list of lines, or I can use fread, the read method, to get everything in one string. If I want to do some character processing, like, for example, counting the number of uppercase letters or counting the number of digits in the file, then it is more appropriate to use the read method to get everything in one string. So what I will do, let's say I usually use contents, but it can be anything else, and just read all file into as a string, So what I can do, now I have my whole file in the contents string variable. What I can do for C in contents, I can get every single character using a for loop. If C is, what was the name of the method? Since I'm teaching both Java and Python courses, sometimes I mix the method names to check if a letter is a string, is uppercase or lowercase, etc. Because the names of the functions are similar. Is upper. Okay, here is returns true if all letter characters in a string are uppercase. Since my string here, my variable here contains only one character, I'm taking every single character from the contents string into C. If this character is uppercase, this will be true. Then of course I need to initialize an up count equals 0 and increase up count by 1 plus equal 1 and print there are comma up count comma upper case letters in the file. Let's run this. There are 10 uppercase letters. Let's check it. There's 1 here, 2, 3, 4 in the first line, 5, 6 here, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There are only 10 uppercase letters in the file. Okay, so we get that. So if I want to process a file content character by character, using read method is more appropriate. But if I want to do some operations about the lines themselves, what I can do, let's go and check here. I have in my directory, I have a file named cars.txt. Here it is. Here on every line, I have information about one car. This is the plate number, semicolon, mark, semicolon, model, semicolon, the color of the car, the year of the car, the year it was built, what is its, how many kilometers it made, and what is its price. Okay, and then on the second line, I have information about another car. Again, plate, mark, model, Audi A4, color, dark green, year, blah, blah, blah. So all my lines have this kind of information. So in order to process this file, reading whole file into one variable is not appropriate. In that case, I will just be using lines, read lines. And of course, my file name is cars.txt. Okay. Now let's first of all print lines to see what is read from the file. Here is my list. The first element is this, and the second element is the second line, etc. So what I will be doing with lines, I will be doing some processing. So for every line in the lines list, I'll be processing with something like that. What I'll be doing, I'll be getting every line one by one. And I want to split the data items separated by semicolon. And of course, I don't want to have the last new line as well. So what I'll be doing, do you remember from the strings chapter? Oops, continue strings. Yeah, let's go here. There is one method, split method, which splits a string by using a separator. Here, my separator is semicolon. Okay, I have semicolons in every line between items. Okay, I have my semicolons. I know I want to separate the items by semicolon. What I'll be doing, data items is equal to, what I'll be doing, I'll be just first of all getting rid of the new line at the end. Here I have new line at the end of my line. Every line has this new line. Okay. Let's go here, and a new line at the end of the second line, etc. First of all, I need to get rid of the new line. So what I'll be doing, line dot r strip. Now, new line is I have a new string here. Line dot r strip gives me a new string which doesn't contain the new line at the end. Now I can split my string after line dot r strip. I get the line except the new line at the end. This new line is not taken with r strip. It is removed. And then I split with semicolon. What split method does? The split method returns a list of strings after breaking the given string by the specified separator string. So here I gave semicolon. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 strings. Okay, I get a list which contains 7 strings. Now let's print the data here, print data, and let's see, let's run this first of all to see what we are having. Now I have a list. I have for every line, here I have a for loop which takes every line from the list of whole lines in the file. Then for each line, I get a list. When I print this, I have my list, which contains information about the first that exists in the first line, in the second line, in the third line, in the fourth line, etc. Okay. Now I can process these. What I can do here, I have a for every line, I have one list. What I will be doing, I will create a list, let's say called cars equal to an empty list. Instead of printing data, what I will be doing, cars.append that data. The data is a list, okay? Each of this is a data. This is the data where this is stored in data variable, this is stored in data variable, etc. So what I will be doing, I will be adding every single list in another list, inside another list. Let's print that. Print cars. Cars is a list. When I do this, I'll be having that. I have a list, and every element of the list is another list. Here I have the first one, second one, third one, etc. And at the end, I have the last, the list, which contains information about the last car, and my cars list is finished here. Now I can do some other processing, but before appending data, what I can do? The first one is a plate, which can contain characters and the letters, etc. The second one is mark. Third one is model. Fourth one is the color. But these three are numbers. They are integers, okay? The year, the kilometer, and the price. In the file, I have only integers there. I don't have any float values. The file contains only integers. Every year value, price value, and kilometer value and price value are integers. So before appending this, what I can do, I can fix this information, these types in the data variable. The data list, which contains those year, color, year, kilometer, and price as strings, I will convert them to integers. Data, what is the index of that? Index 0 has plate, index 1 mark, index 2 model, index 3 the color, and index 4. So data 4 is the year is equal to int data 4. Okay. And instead of keeping as string, I'm replacing this with its integer equivalent. And I will do the same thing for kilometer and price, which have index 5 and 6. So data 5 will be replaced with integer conversion of that string, and data 6 will be replaced with integer conversion of itself. So when I do this, now I see that these are not strings anymore. They are integers, okay? So it is a lot better now. So after this small for loop, I have created a cars list which contains information for all cars in the file. Now I can do some processing. For example, assume that I want to find if there are any Mercedes cars. So for car in cars, if what is the mark? It is the second item. Index 0 is the plate. Index 1 is this one. If car with index 1, which is index 0, as I said, is plate, and index 1 is the mark of the car, is equal to the Mercedes. Let's print those. Print that car information. Let's run this. Here I have, it seems that my file contains only 2 Mercedes. Okay. Instead of Mercedes, let's change this with, for example, Renault. Probably there are more Renault cars. There are several Renault cars, so I have my Renault cars. I assume that I want to find the cheap cars, which are less than, for example, I have created this file years ago. Since in the last few years there is a huge inflation, the prices are very cheap now. I want to check if the chips, the prices, which one is the price? It is the last one. So the 0 is mark, model 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So car 6 is the price. Let's check which cars have a price less than 10,000. If there's any of these less than 10,000. I don't know if there is any of this. No. Okay. 100,000. Here I have one car, which a price which is less than 100,000. Let's put 200,000. Okay, there are several cars. We have several cars which have prices less than 200,000. So we can now process this. So read lines is more appropriate to read this kind of file because every line has its own data or important for us. Of course, it need not be information like this. We can have again a text which contains some other stuff. Let's go, for example, here in your where it is. Oh, here it is. I have a file here, for example. Is it this one? That one. Here I have another text file. If necessary, I may read this text file using this read lines as well. Okay. If I need to process the lines of a file, then I use read lines. If I need to do some character processing, counting uppercase, lowercase, digit characters, alphabetic characters, etc., then I can use the read method. I will not write any program with readline. I have written one. By using readline, we checked if the line that we read from the file is empty string or not. If it is not empty string, it means that we have successfully read a line from the file. Otherwise, if it is an empty string, then it means that the file end is reached. This is about reading files. Basically, we have three functions: read lines, and read line. Now let's continue with writing to files. In order to write to files, we need to use either W mode or append mode. Now, let me check some files in here. What is in 00.txt? There are some. Okay. Let's assume that I want to write numbers to a file. Okay. So what I will be doing, I'll be creating. Let's make this everything here. Comment out. Let's keep it here. I will continue from here. So what I'll be doing, I'll be creating a file. I will be using the same file name 0000.txt. So again, let's say file is equal to open 0000.txt, but now in W mode. When we finish with the file, of course, we need to close the file. What I'll be doing, I'll be writing to the file numbers from 1 to 10, for example. So what I'll be doing for n in range 1, 11 to create numbers from 1 to 10. And then I'll be using the file.write. By the way, did I have written here? File.write writes a string to a file. In write method, we need to have a string. We cannot write an integer or a float value. It has to be argument must be a string. So what I'll be doing, I'll be using file.write method, but inside parentheses here, I cannot put n is an integer. If I do this, I will get an error. Okay. So what I'll be doing, I have to convert this to string, str. However, if I do this, okay, no problem. It is finished. Let's look to the file. Did I do it correctly? Okay. Oh, yeah, it is modified. I have all the numbers in the file, but they are not on different lines. So what I have to do after converting the number to and I have to add \n to make it a line. This is the content of the line, and this is the new line at the end of the line. If I do this, and if I go here, it is modified. My file is this. Okay. So if I want to create a file, I have to build the lines, and of course I shouldn't forget to put new line at the end of every line. This is how I create a file, open the file with the W mode, in the write mode, and then use write methods. And here I have some expression which makes my let's say line. Okay. Assume I have a list. Let's say names is equal to, I have a list of names like Jane, Peter, blah, blah. Let's put here some names, Jane, comma, Peter, comma, Albert, etc. I want to create a file which contains these. So what I will be doing here, instead of using something like this, I will, for example, here I will write name in the names list. Take every element of the names list, put into the variable name. Since the list contain just strings, I can just put here name. Let's do this. Let's go and check our file. We have now Jane, Peter, Albert. The elements of the list is put into the file, is written into the file. Jane, 47, Peter, 65 point blah, blah, blah. If I have a mixture of strings and numbers, for example, what I will be doing, quite simple. For every element, I'll be doing a string conversion. If name is already a string, or let's say here, v, every value in the list, for every v, for every item in the list, I'm just converting to string. If v is already a string, nothing will change. Jane will remain as Jane, Peter will remain as Peter. But if I have a number, 47 will be converted to quotation mark for 7 characters and quotation mark, a string, or 65.784 will be converted to a string. Okay. So if I do this, and if I check my file, I will have this output. Okay. So you can create a file by using the elements of a list or a dictionary or whatever. Okay. Here, all you have to do is just to build a string which will make one line of the file. Okay. You need to do something about that. Now, assume that from this file, from cars.txt, I want to read the lines and I want to create a new file. Okay. Let's go here. Where is our cars.txt? It is here. It is this file. I want to create a new file, but this time, instead of semicolon, I want to put here tab character, for example. What I will be doing. Okay, let's do that. I have two files. One is the cars.txt, and I will create a new file. Let me check if there is any cars2.txt or similar to this one. Cars.txt. Here I have cars2.txt. I have already done this. Let's delete this file. Okay. I'll be deleting this file, cars2.txt, delete. Okay. Now my hard disk doesn't contain any cars2.txt. What I'll be doing, I'll be reading from this cars.txt all the information, and instead of semicolons in this file, I'll be creating here. I have semicolons between every data item. I will create a new file which will only contain the for example, runner cars, but instead of semicolon, I will be having tab character. How can I do that? Now let's do this. So let's comment this part out. I have my cars.txt. Read all the lines and put into a list of strings, and every string is one line. Now, after I close it, I will open. Let's Control C. Here I have my cars. Okay, what I will link. I don't need to check for the prices, etc. So I don't need to convert to integers, to integers. Okay, those price, kilometer, and year data. Now I have my cars list. My cars list contains, let's remember those. Okay, let's remove these parts. My cars list is this one. Okay, the first item is the first car, the second one is the second car, etc. Now using this, I'll be checking if the car, let's say, okay, I want to print the Antalya cars. So if the start of the plate is 07, I'll put this in a new file. I will be doing this. Write Antalya cars in a new file. Use tab as separator. Okay. So it's a print. I will not print these cars. What I will be doing, open, of course, file 2. I have a new file. Open cars2.txt. I have removed from my this cars2. I have cars.txt and cars1.txt. I don't have cars2.txt. And in this is in write mode. Okay. And after some time, when I finish it, I will close this one as well. Here, what I'll be doing, I have my cars list, which contains inner lists related with every car. So here, for car in cars, if now, what is the car variable? Car variable will be at the beginning the first car, and then the second car, etc. Okay, every element of the big cars list is related with one car. So car here is one of the elements of the big list. This is one car, and then the second one, etc. If what is the first? The plate is the first one. So if the first two characters of the first one is 07, it belongs to it's an Antalya plate. So if car 0 is the plate, okay, 0680 blah blah or 34GG784, etc. This is the plate. So car 0 is the plate. I'm interested in the first two characters. How do I get the first two characters? I get the first two characters using starting from the beginning up to index 2. Or I can, if I wish, I can write 02 or beginning of the string 2. It will give me the first two characters of the plate. If this the first two characters is equal to 07, it is an Antalya car. Okay, this is an Antalya car. Now I will create a new line. Let's call it line is equal to, from the element of this car object, I find a car object inside the cars list, which has 07. Let's try to find one of those. Let's go and check where Let's try to find one of them. Here we have 07 blah blah. Okay, MR's discard. Probably there are some other records in the file which start with 07. So I will put this in a file, but instead of semicolon, I will put tab characters between. So how I will build line from the elements of this list. Okay, I have here a list which contains 07 as the first two characters of the plate. There is one method. Let's go now cars. This is a car list. The name of this list is car. Okay, this is one of this is a car. The next one is another car. So my car is the car variable here is a list containing plate, mark, model, color, blah blah blah. Now, I can do one by one. What I can do, car 0 plus tab character \t plus car 1 blah blah. I can write an expression up to car 6, which is the last item. There are 7 values, 7 data here. But instead of doing this, I can do it in one go. So instead of doing it like this, let's extend this. Car 0, car 1, I can do it like that. But there must be a nicer way of doing it, etc. Up to 6, okay? 4, 5, 6, etc. I can do it like this. But this will be quite long. Now let's check the list methods. Is there anything that will glue together the elements of a list in our methods? Probably we don't. I didn't put it here, but there is something like that. What I can do, I'm thinking of an easy to understand solution. I don't have anything that will be doing that. Surely there is a method which will be doing this automatically. What I will be doing in some other languages, there is such functions. What I will be doing, I will create a loop for data in car object. Okay. Now I have found a car object which has 07 as the start of the plate string, and I will be creating a line here for data in car. For every data, what I will be doing, I will be appending to the end of the line this data plus a tab character. Okay. So what will happen? The plate, tab character, mark, tab character, model, tab character, color, etc. will all be put into line, but with one problem. After the last data in the car object, car list, we will also be having tab character. Okay, so the price, which is the last item in the car data, after putting here the price, we have also tab character. But I don't want this. I want to replace the last tab character. Now I have 2012 tab character, 88,600 tab character, 148,000 tab character. And after this, there's also a tab character. When I finish this for loop, I have tab character after every element in the list named car. Therefore, a tab character at the end. What I need to do, I have to convert this last tab character to \n. Okay. So my new line will be line, slicing from start from the beginning, go up to the last character. This is the whole string except the last character. Okay. -1 is the index of the last character. Since in slicing, the second index is omitted, is exclusive, here this will take all characters in the line string except the last character, which is the last tab character. But instead, I'll be putting \n. Okay. So my line is ready. So what I can do, file 2 dot write the line. Hey, I have finished. Read all the information in from the cars.txt in a list of strings. This is for read. Then for every car in the so the elements of this is the lines. So from the lines, strip with semicolons, get the data for the cars and append that data, create this list. Okay. And from this list, take every element here, the first car, and then the second car, etc. Let's go here. The first car, and then the second car, etc., etc. And then check if the beginning of the first item is 07. If it is the case, create a line by appending, by putting tab characters after every data and replace the last tab character with \n. Now we have created a line consisting of the data in the car, which has 07 as the beginning of the plate number, and write this to a line. Now let's run this program and let's see what will happen. It will, let's put here print cars.txt is created. Let's put something like this. Of course, let's do one more thing. Count is equal to 0. After finding a car with this, increase the count variable plus equal 1. Count, comma, cars are written to cars.txt, cars2.txt. Okay, that many records are written. Let's run this again. 4 cars are written to cars.txt. So it seems that in our file there were 4 lines which starts with 07. Here there is one, another one, another one. Probably there is one more somewhere here, another one. Okay. Now let's see what is in cars. Here now we have our cars2. It is created. Let's look here. 07. There's a tab character here. If I just go to the beginning and start searching for tab character, \t, start searching, find next. It found here, it up before the Mercedes. Next, tab character, these are tab characters, okay? So I have created a file which from the contents of the previous file, from cars.txt, I've read all the cars. I've done some necessary conversions to get lists of car data. And from those, I checked if the beginning of the plate is equal to 07. And only for those cars, I've created a file which contains the same information, but this time separated with tab characters. Probably this summarizes everything that we have learned. Reading from files, writing to files, etc. are all here. Would you like me to put this example to Moodle, to LMS? Probably would like. Yes. Let me. Okay. What I will be doing. I will be changing the name of this program from A001 to something else. Let me check if we have instructive Python programs. I have lists. Okay, I haven't uploaded the programs related with tuples, sets, dictionaries, and files yet. I'll be doing after this course, or even I can do it right now. Let's go here. File, save as. Let's save this program as a file program. Files. Okay, I will save it as files 5. Okay. This is the next one. So if you are interested, you can just check a10_files_5.py. This is that program. I will also upload the cars.txt file so that you can run the program if you wish. Let me go and immediately do that. Edit. Let's go here. Cars.txt. First of all, let's upload this cars.txt. It is now here, cars.txt, and let's go and upload the programs related with after lists, nested lists. I will just skip this. Okay, I will upload the nested lists programs, tuples, sets, dictionaries, files up to 5. Okay. Okay, now you can get download from here a10files5.py, which is this program, and the cars.txt, which is the text file, and you can examine this. Here there are other programs. Let me quickly go and check those programs, what they have. Files 1. Read all contents, so read just reads all in one string. Read lines reads as a list of lines, and read lines again a list of lines. rstrip is just to remove the backslash and at the end, the new line at the end. Okay. What I'll be doing, I will be doing another example. Probably I have some file which contains integers. Let's check if there's any insta.txt. Okay, here I have a file which contains integer values. 24, a tab character, 86 space character, 1 space character, tab or space, etc. There are some numbers separated with, let's put here 2 space character and a few more space character. There are numbers, integer numbers only in this file, which are separated by either 1 or more tab character, space character, new line character. Here, for example, we have a new line, another new line, and we go to the next number. So I have this file, inst.txt. Okay, I want to read the integers from this file. How can I do that? There are many lines. There are some empty lines. Line 8 is empty. Line is empty. But this line has several characters, including some extra tab character at the end. Here there are some more lots of spaces, etc. And I have this type of file which only contains integer numbers and white space characters. Okay. Maybe there are two, for example, 2 tab character. I have here tab character, another tab character, maybe even some space character. This is my file. How can I read these integer numbers? Up to now, we have seen that with read, we read the whole contents, and with read lines, we get a list of lines, but neither of these helps me. How can I read these numbers? Quite simple. Let's write a program for that. File open. Let's go and use this 01. I already saved this as files 10, so I can change this. Files inst.txt. Instead of reading the lines, I will read the whole contents. With read. Let's remove everything here except, okay. Now I have all in one string, all the contents in one string. Let's print this to see. List of contents, let's say C, I will be typing less. Okay. here is, come on. Okay, this is our string. I have one string which contains everything. How can I get the numbers? We have done a similar thing before in the previous example. Do you remember this split method? We will be using the same thing. Nums numbers is equal to C dot split. Strangely, no parameter. If I don't give any parameter, what happens? It will, this whole thing is one string, okay? This whole file is stored in one string. Now with split method, with no parameter, it splits by using white spaces. Print nums. Let's see what we will see. We know that this is the content, so I will not, I will comment this out. So if I just print this, I have only one list. As you see, all the numbers are elements of this list, but they are strings because split method gives me a list of strings. How can I convert this to numbers? Quite simple. For j in range len of nums. What is this? Len of nums is the number of elements in this list. So for j in range len nums, assume that there are, let's print this after splitting. Print len of nums. Let's print this. And for the time being, let's comment this out so that it will not create for any problem for us. So there are 97 numbers in this, 97 elements in this list, okay? All are strings. So what I'm doing here, I'm creating a loop which has the number of elements in the range function, 97. So for j in range len of nums will create me a loop where j will be valid indexes. It will go from 0 to 96. Okay, you remember if I have range 97, it will generate numbers from 0 up to 96. So I will get the valid indexes for every element. So what I'll be doing, since the lists are immutable, are changeable, for every nums j, these are the elements, is equal to, I will convert this to integer. Take this, put here. So take an element, convert to integer, and store to itself. So string 24 will be replaced with number 24. String 8 and 6 will be replaced with 86. This string will be replaced with 1, number 1. And let's print the numbers now. As you see now, I have only numbers. Okay. So here I have read everything in the file in a string. I split by white spaces. Let's not forget that this is our file. I split everything. I split this. The whole thing is one string in my program in C, and I split this string using white spaces. So between 30 and 31, there are many white spaces. There are several white spaces here. They are eliminated. A list is created, but split gives me a list of strings. Let's take this and put it here as well. So from the list of strings, I've created a list of numbers in just 2 lines. Use indexing. I have to do this, but for every element I have to do that for every element. So I have to build a loop which will generate the indexes. This is how to do it. For j in range len nums will generate all the valid indexes for the nums list, and for every element of nums list convert to integer and store to itself. Okay. I use indexing here. Is this understood? Okay. I will be giving some clues to you now. There are in your third homework, there are things not exactly. Am I doing part of the third homework? Anyway, I will stop recording because this is, I have asked this in. Stop recording. Oh, I didn't start recording. I stop recording. Okay.